Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. And I saw it. I got to do it. I'm sorry. We've got Reddit rumors abounding with the American Express Platinum card. And yeah, you're going to see rumors throughout the day. You're going to see videos with shock faces and all of that asking, did the Amex just ruin the American Express Platinum card for clicks? Look, there's the rumor. I'm just going to give you the straight details here. It is rumored now that American Express will be adding a LuLuLemon credit and a Resi credit to the American Express Platinum card. These are brands that make sense. Resi is owned by American Express, so that definitely makes sense. LuLuLemon is the sort of brand that would make sense for American Express to partner with. Okay, cool. I'm going to go with the Reddit post. I don't necessarily like going with the Reddit post, but I don't have the translated source. Let's just jump to this. So, rumor, Amex Plat refresh, $400 Resi and $300 LuLuLemon credits, 4 times $75 LuLuLemon credits. That makes absolute sense. You know that thing that I've said with rumors before? There's always that sort of detail that is a little too specific to not be true. Here's your a little too specific to not be true. For a quarterly LuLuLemon credit makes all the sense in the world, unfortunately. So we're going to go with this as a legit part of the rumor. Now, it does say not sure what frequency on Resi credits is. Don't not like this rumor. Anyway, the source is not reliable, but one can dream. So here's the thing. The source in question is US card forms. Here's the original on it. I don't have the translation. Google is not translating the page for me. It is what it is. But it's uscardform.com. And here, LuLuLemon, $300 by 75. Resi, $400. This is coming from a Red Note post, right, with a breakdown of everything. 918 refresh, that we know. Refresh. $895 is the annual fees being touted here for the refresh. Additionally, LuLuLemon credit, more benefits, $300. Enjoy up to $75 in a statement credit each quarter when you use the Platinum card. Broken apart here. This is all hashed out, so don't know why. But there you go. How much do I believe this rumor? I think it's entirely believable. Again, there's always that little piece that is a little too specific, right? The shops at Chase portion of things, when the Sapphire Reserve was being rumored, that was that little too specific. Also, the spend $75,000 get a list from Southwest and IHG Diamond. That was a little too specific, and that ended up being true. Do I think this is a controlled leak? No. Do I think this is being sourced from qww.americanexpress.com? Probably. US Card Form has usually been on top of that, and if it's coming from QWW, that is an Amex sanctioned testing site that this site just happens to always get a hold of, and I'm sure it drives American Express freaking bonkers. So, what do we have so far with the rumored American Express Platinum refresh? $895 annual fee, $100 more than the Sapphire Reserve. You have time to respond to the Sapphire Reserve. You're only going to come out $100 over it. That's not that big a deal because you're going to add $400 to FHR. Now, it still remains to be seen if FHR is going to go from a one night as it currently is or join the 2-night crowd like Chase and Citi have been forced to do. If American Express can get away with one night, that's a huge value add for FHR. How likely is this? I don't know. If it's 2 nights, it's a bit of a pain, but it's still workable, especially with a $600 credit in total for $300 semi-annually. Now, if you do have to do 2 nights semi-annually, you have to book 4 nights instead of 2, which would put it somewhat at a disadvantage, but then it's $100 more than the other credit, and it's double the credit that Citi is giving you on the Citi Strata Elite. So there is a certain amount of logic there. Resi credit, $400. I absolutely believe $400 to be the case. Now, if it's semi-annual, that would be $200 in the first half of the year, $200 in the second half of the year. $200 is a pretty significant meal. You know, that's a good meal for 4. That's a decent meal for 6. $200, if it was broken into 4 $100 quarterly credits, matching LuLuLemon, that's still a good dinner for 2, or most of a good dinner for 2 with a pretty decent tip. So people will probably liquidate it for quarterly gift cards because we can't have nice things. But $400 in Resi credit broken into 4 $100 quarterly credits, that makes a lot of sense. 2 $200 semi-annual credits, that makes all the sense in the world, right? That is a huge meal for 2. That is a good meal. That is a great meal for 4 and a pretty solid meal for 6. Don't know about 8. 8 might stretch it, but depending on the restaurant, may not be the worst idea. Then $300 in LuLuLemon credit broken up into quarters, $75 per quarter. LuLuLemon sells some pretty good stuff. And then annual travel credit, the airline credit, $200. If that got broken up semi-annually, that would be a pain, but we'll have to see. The digital entertainment credit staying at $240 is a solid get. The LuLuLemon credit would be replacing the Equinox credit. So the $300 from Equinox would go away. Then the LuLuLemon credit would replace that. You're still coming out ahead because you're adding $400 with Resi, you're adding $400 to FHR, you're adding $800 in value, and you're changing out a $300 credit that not a whole lot of people can use for a $300 credit that a lot of people can use. Remains to be seen what happens with the Saks Fifth Avenue credit. If it stays, that's $100 right there. But they have room to get rid of that credit as well with the move to the LuLuLemon credit. So there's that. Now, that all still sounds relatively strong, especially at $895. So if they went higher, like they could have added even bigger credits. What they might be adding now is still a pretty dang good card at $895. Like, I'm not a huge American Express Platinum user, and I don't even have the Platinum card, but what they are doing just to leapfrog Chase is still adding significant value. Whether or not FHR goes to semi-annual and whether or not FHR is 2 nights at a time, because you're still getting $600 in value. FHR just added 400 more hotels, still got 3,100 hotels to play with. And I think that the FHR credit is not just FHR, it's also going to include the hotel collection. So you could actually do pretty well with a $300 stay at the hotel collection with that hotel credit in general. Like, if they switch it to include the hotel collection, that makes it even more valuable. So yeah, this is potentially like I don't know how big a refresh this would be, but this would be American Express like planting the flag to steal customers away from Chase, because there has been a lot of whiplash and negative reaction about the Chase Sapphire Reserve refresh, whether even with adding the reduction in the 1 Sapphire rule, going from 1 Sapphire to you can have both. So yeah, I still think the Amex fans are going to be very happy if this is what you get, where you get $400 more in FHR. And if FHR doesn't necessarily mean FHR, it also means FHR plus hotel collection. That will be huge for folks. This LuLuLemon credit will be definitely workable, definitely easy to use. If you can shop at LuLuLemon 4 times a year for yourself or your partner, that's good. And then a $400 Resi credit, it really doesn't matter how it breaks down because it's going to be solid either way. That's $700 in rumored credits that are super easy to use and really valuable. And that's before the FHR updates. And I still think that there's room for a Hilton credit to be added to the personal platinum to reflect the Hilton credit that was added to the business platinum at the end of last year. If that comes to fruition as well, that is also huge, especially if you could stack that credit with the FHR credit while on property at a Hilton. Do you see the options that work for you? There we go. I'm very interested to see what the rest of September 18th will bring. That is going to be a pretty big day. There's going to be clickbait galore. But hey, I'm just here with the rumor for now. If you think I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. But if you like what I do, hit the subscribe button down below. Check out the Stack Your Points podcast. We record on Monday nights. We release on Wednesdays and Fridays. We do a live on Thursdays. Check RJ and I out on the Bridge Banter podcast. We do a Star Trek rewatch podcast. We're going through Star Trek Lower Decks. Check out the pinned comment for ways to support me outside of YouTube, whether it is my Rove Miles referral or my link tree or buy me a Ko-fi outside of tipping platforms. If you want to support me here on YouTube, consider becoming a channel member. $2.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. You get early access to videos like this before I launch them live. But thank you so much for your time. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.